Konnichiwa! Shalom! Ciao! Bonjour! Namaste! Jumbo!
Bienvenidos! Hey, my name is Jedley. This is Reading with Your Kids. We're beaming out to you in the entire planet from the beautiful, historical, book-loving neighborhood of Reedville, the loveliest neighborhood in all of Boston. We are so very excited that you are joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in our mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods Podcast Addict, YouTube, Amazon Music, Audible. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. Really fascinating show for you today. First up, Doug Noll is here to celebrate Deescalate, how to calm an angry person in 90 seconds or less. This is a really fascinating conversation all about neuroscience and behavior, and you're just going to love it. Later in the show, Maria Saldua will be here to celebrate a fun day with Misa. Before we invite our guests into the studio, we want to let you know we have a brand new Reading with Your Kids certified great read. The Adventures of Toby Baxter, Revenge of the River Home Rutabagas by Tim Wright. It's book number 5 in the series, and it too is a Reading with Your Kids certified great read. Tim Wright delivers another wildly imaginative, laugh-out-loud adventure in The Adventures of Toby Baxter, Revenge of the River Home Rutabagas. Blending fantasy, humor, heart, and middle school realism, this 5th installment in the Toby Baxter series is an exciting journey that will keep young readers turning pages while also encouraging them to think deeply about anger, hope, friendship, and resilience. One of the greatest strengths of this series is the way Tim Wright respects the intelligence and emotional world of middle graders. Toby is relatable, funny, awkward, brave, and wonderfully human. Whether he's navigating first love, dealing with frustration, or battling magical creatures from Riverhome, readers will recognize pieces of themselves in Toby's journey. What truly elevates this book, however, is its emotional core. Beneath the action and the humor is a meaningful message about guarding our hearts against bitterness and hopelessness. We really appreciate the way the series encourages imagination while also exploring emotional intelligence, courage, empathy, and perseverance. The Adventures of Toby Baxter, Revenge of the River Home Rutabagas is an imaginative, funny, heartfelt adventure that deserves a place on the shelves of fantasy-loving middle grade readers everywhere. I want to invite you to read our entire full review at readingwithyourkids.com. Congratulations again to Tim Wright. Your latest Toby Baxter mystery adventure is our latest Reading with Your Kids certified great read. The Adventures of Toby Baxter, Revenge of the River Home Rutabagas. Check it out today. Tim Wright, congratulations, my friend. My friends, we are in for a fascinating conversation. Our guest is here today to celebrate a book. It's called Deescalate, How to Calm an Angry Person in 90 Seconds or Less. It's not a picture book. Please welcome to the show, Doug Noll. Doug, how are you?
Jed, I couldn't be better. I live here in Central California at the base of the Sierra Nevada, and it's just, I live in paradise.
Well, that's wonderful. I live in the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville here in Boston, and I think it's the East Coast version of paradise.
There you go. There you go.
So people out there who are, listening to Reading with their kids because they're looking for a book to add to their family library that they can read with their kid. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm guessing that Deescalate is not a book that a family is going to curl up on the couch with to read out loud to their kids.
It depends on how old the kids are.
Okay.
But it is a book that should be in every family's library. All right. So the way the book is written, well, first of all, let me back up and let's get some perspective here. I'm a lawyer-turned-peacemaker. I grew up in Southern California, went back east to Dartmouth, came back from Dartmouth, went to law school, practiced law for 22 years, and then mid-career went back and earned my master's degree in peacemaking and conflict studies. And I had a huge insight in 2005 about how to calm people down. Science caught up with me 2 years later, showing why what I had discovered works, and that led me into teaching in maximum security prisons for 10 years as co-founder of the Prison of Peace Project with my colleague Laurel Coffer, training incarcerated people how to stop prison violence as mediators and peacemakers. And we developed a very rigorous curriculum so that our students accomplish exactly what we said they would accomplish. Mm-hmm. So that led to my fourth book, Deescalate, which is what we're talking about. And in that book, I take the first 3 chapters and I talk about how we actually go about calming people down, the neuroscience behind calming people down. It's not real heavy or deep, but it's enough there to, here's the technique, here's the skill, here's why it works. And then the rest of the book is the arc of life. So I take each chapter as a different part of our life. So I start with couples, dating couples. How do you de-escalate and listen in dating? When you are married, how do you listen to each other? I call it listening each other into existence. And then a whole chapter on small children, a chapter on teens, a chapter on divorce, right? A chapter on friends, a chapter on leadership, a chapter on teaching. So I just kind of cover and each chapter is filled with example after example of scripts of how you go about using this technique, these ideas that I developed in real life, in real situations to get real results. So having this book, you probably wouldn't read the whole book to the family, mm-hmm. but there are chapters. For example, if you got chapters with teenagers, there's a whole chapter there that would be it'd be worth spending an hour reading the chapter out loud to everybody. And the role plays are in there, so you could actually play out the roles and see how well this really works in your own family. So it could be very powerful that way.
So let's talk a little bit about you're telling me before we hit record that there's science has kind of proven what you developed on your own. That's one of the things I'm like really excited. I was always a glass half full or 3/4 mm-hmm. full guy and living gratefully. And when I discovered that neuroscience had proved that living gratefully, it's a really great thing. You're happier. You can experience pain. You're more tolerant of pain. All those good things. I think it's great. So tell me one of the things that you discovered working as a peacemaker that neuroscience proved was right.
There's a lot.
Okay, we'll just start with the most interesting.
I think that probably at the 50,000 foot level, the one thing that I've learned in studying neuroscience for the last 30 or 40 years is that our brains don't operate the way that we think they do. And our nervous systems don't operate the way that we think they do. We have a subjective experience of reality, but that's just it. It's subjective. The actual way we process information and make decisions and go about life is radically different than what we would ever expect it to be. And as a result, a lot of the things that we're taught and a lot of the things that we think are true about who we are as human beings are absolutely false. For example, our Western culture has been based on the premise that what separates us as humans from other animals is rationality, the ability to reason. And the essential nature of being human is to be rational. It turns out that that's absolutely false. There's no such thing as rationality. It's a myth. We are emotional beings. Every decision we make, every behavior we engage in is emotional. And yet, we've been trained that emotions are bad. Emotions are evil. Emotions make us weak. Emotions are feminine. They make us vulnerable. They are irrational. They're bad. Don't feel emotions. Never let them see you sweat. All wrong. Totally wrong. Totally against our neurophysiology. And so when you recognize this, you start seeing the real truth based on science, not based on philosophy or theology or what people want us to believe. All of a sudden, you can do things and see things in ways that nobody else sees, and you get liberated. And it allows you to live a much fuller, more complete, peaceful life. So neuroscience doesn't take away, it gives. when we begin to understand it. And you don't have to be a hardcore brain scientist to figure this stuff out. All you really need to know is the stuff that I teach, which is how do you take the science and turn it into a practical skill that is now working consistently with your nervous system rather than dysregulating your nervous system. And that's the secret.
So let's talk a little bit about parenting and how parents can use some of the skills and techniques that they'll find in Deescalate to be a better parent, to not be the parent that you were talking about that landed their kids in prison.
Right. So what I'm going to say is a little bit harsh, but it's true. And the antidote is really easy. So most parents, including my parents, this is true for almost everybody. As children, we are emotionally invalidated. So, for example, remember when you were 3 or 4 years old and you were out running around and you fell down, you scraped your knee, it started to bleed, and you started to cry. What were you told?
I don't know if 3 or 4, but I know in high school it was, rub it off, walk it off,
that's right.
Up and move.
Exactly. Don't feel anything.
Yeah.
It starts at about 3 years old, 2 to 3 years old. Right at the time we are starting to walk a little bit and talk a little bit, and we're becoming functional little beings. We're no longer the cute little baby. At 18 months, it starts to shift, and we are and parents, because they don't know any better, tell us not to feel. Stop crying. Don't make such a big deal out of that. Don't be a drama queen. Be a big boy. Put on your big girl panties. You're not allowed to be angry. You can't be angry at the dinner table. It's not allowed. Go to your room. Don't be that way. Right? Well, it turns out that destroys brains. And what happens is that when you invalidate your children, you are teaching them not to be emotional. The emotional development that is necessary for high cognitive function and to be a whole and happy human being is completely shut down. And usually children between the ages of 6 and 8 learn that the universe is an emotionally unsafe place to live in. And to show true emotions around parents and siblings and peers is really a bad thing. And so we shut down. And we learn how to act and present outwardly that, we're a put-together kid and we're doing everything right and it's all cool. But inside, we're a mess. And this carries into adulthood. And this is why we have so many problems in relationships and so much conflict and so much pain, because we were traumatized as children. And parents didn't know any better. That's the way they were brought up and the way their grandparents were brought up. And it's an intergenerational transfer that has occurred for hundreds, if not thousands of years. What the research shows is that if you, instead of invalidating your children's emotions, you validate them, which I'll get to on how to do it in a second. Amazing things happen. Usually, if you start validating your children's emotions between 2 and 3, 5 years later, 8, 9, they're 2 grade levels ahead of their peers academically. They have the emotional maturity a decade ahead of a normal 8-year-old. I mean, the maturity that develops is phenomenal to watch. I've had not only that, but the meltdowns stop. I've had parents email me over and over again saying, we started listening to our 2-year-old, naming his emotions in the meltdown moments. 4 months later, no more tantrums. And there's just a ton of research out there that shows that being an emotional coach as a parent is the most powerful thing you can do for your child, other than providing physical safety, food and water, right, and shelter. But having that emotional safety and being an emotional coach is critical to the development of a child's brain. So how do you do it?
Okay.
You learn quickly how to name emotions. And that's what Deescalate is all about. That's what it teaches. How you read your child's emotions and then name them directly with a you statement. You feel. So let's suppose you got a little boy, a 2 or 3 year old, and you're in the market and he wants a candy bar and you say no, and he immediate meltdown. Very common, right? Everybody's had that experience. You don't yell at the kid. You don't tell him to stop yelling. You say, you're really frustrated. You're really angry. You want that candy bar and you can't have it. And you really, really, really makes you angry because you can't have it. And you don't feel like anybody loves you. and you feel really unloved, and you're really upset. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
How long did that take? 10, 15 seconds?
Yeah.
The child will immediately calm down. I mean, within seconds after saying those words, the child will calm down. And the reason is the child doesn't have any choice. Because when you name emotions, and this is what the brain scanning studies show, when you name emotions, the parts of the brain associated with negative emotion they're diminished, they're inhibited. And the part of the brain responsible for emotional self-regulation in the prefrontal cortex is activated. And it happens automatically outside of conscious control. So all I have to do is name my child's emotions, and the child will calm down. The child can't help itself. It has to, because that's the way its brain is hardwired. Now, sometimes it won't happen right away, but usually within 2 minutes, there's going to be a takedown, and the child is going to go from screaming, crazy, tantrum mad to being docile and usually happy. And if you do this over and over and over and over again through a child's childhood years, by the time they're 12 or 13 years old, entering adolescence, they are very different human beings than their peers.
Okay, I'm not going to argue. I don't have any data or anything to back you up, but I'm like, both of my kids were pretty good kids, and we didn't, my kids didn't tantrum. What we would do, like if we're in church and my son started up, I would just say, we're going to take a walk. And I would hold him and we'd talk, and we'd do it quietly, and there was no arguing. And like I said, so maybe
That's pretty good.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
That's pretty good. You're not invalidating. You're not telling them not to feel. You're saying, let's go take a walk. And you're creating safety, which is critical. Yeah. You're creating boundaries, which is critical. And you're maintaining a calm, non-anxious presence. So you're modeling the kind of behavior that you want your child to have. Very powerful.
Look at that, Mike. And I didn't even read your book, Mike.
No, that's really effective. Unfortunately, most parents, younger parents, don't have that skill. I mean, they're young, they're in their 20s. What do they know, right?
Right. And I was older when my kids came into my life. So I had experience working in social work and in the juvenile justice system. Right. So maybe some of that.
You've got a background that lent itself to that kind of positive reaction to kids upset.
Okay. So our kids are in school now. They're older.
It's a mess. School's a mess right now. Post-pandemic, the schools have not recovered.
My beautiful wife, she taught 34 years. Pandemic ended. She went back and she said, told her principal, end of this year, I'm out.
Right.
I am out. And they called me, don't you want to sub? Make some money? Nope. Don't want to go back there. It's
a mess.
How can a teacher, a teacher?
Yes, absolutely. Same thing. It's a little bit more challenging because the children are not getting the emotional support at home they really need to have to show up in school appropriately. But you can still, as a teacher, some of the things, I do a lot of work in education, working in school districts, helping teachers develop these tools. One of the things that I like teachers to do is, again, grade level appropriate, depends on the grade level and the teacher. But I like to have them put together listening circles. Just do it once a week for an hour, where you get the kids in a circle, or maybe depending on how big your classroom is, and every kid goes in the circles, talks about, for 1 minute or 2 minutes, talks about how they are. How are you today? And they go around, and the way you do it is you start. If you're thinking that 12 o'clock is directly in front of you, you start at 6 o'clock, and there's a child at the 5 o'clock position that would be on my right. On the screen, it's looking the other way. And that child at 5 o'clock starts, and then and has a talking stick, like something symbolic. The child talks, and then the person on the child's left, going around the clock clockwise, then listens to and tells the child what that child is feeling. as a child was telling this story. You're angry, you're upset, or you're happy, or whatever it might be, positive or negative. When the child who talked first says yes, hands the talking stick to the next child, and you just repeat all the way around the circle. So that in that hour, or however long it takes, every child gets heard at a deep level. That builds community in the classroom. It sets up role expectations in the classroom. It shows the kids how they are to listen to each other and not interrupt. And it allows every child to feel validated. So that's one tool that's really powerful. The other thing that I teach teachers to do is when they are having disruptive students, which is unfortunately very frequent, they learn how to read the emotions of that student and label what's going on. Johnny, you're bored right now. You don't want to be here. You're frustrated. And this is not exciting to you. It's not fun. And you don't like being here. And it's really making you mad that you have to be here. Settles the kid right down. Because you've labeled what's going on in their brain. They processed it. And their prefrontal cortex is coming back online. Now, you may have to do this 10 or 15 times during a day, but it doesn't matter. You keep doing it, and the effects become cumulative over a period of time. And eventually, what we've seen is the children who are the biggest problems become the biggest advocates for the teacher, and they start policing the class, telling people, shut up. It's pretty amazing to watch. So if teachers, so these two tools, listening circles and learning how to listen to and reflect emotions are the two biggest things that are easy and fast to implement that really change the dynamic of the classroom. And we've seen examples of where, we look for when you're doing this sort of stuff, you want to set baselines and kind of understand what are we going to see changing, and what we're looking for is referrals to the administration, right, to the vice principals for discipline or whatever. Can we reduce the number of referrals, and can we reduce the time that a kid is missing from class by simply how we de-escalate them when they're upset in the classroom? And can we knock those numbers down? We're not going to eliminate them, but can we knock them down? And in every school, the answer is yes, we can knock them down.
Wow. Fascinating. I do know I did an experiment as I was presenting my educational magic shows that were talking about respect and bullying. I encountered a program that is similar to your talking circle, where kids would be paired up randomly with other classmates, and it would be I talk and you listen.
That's it. That'll work. That'll work. Absolutely.
Yeah, that whole being seen and being heard.
It's huge. And children are not seen and heard. I mean, when I grew up, it was children are to be seen, not heard, right? I still think that's kind of a common mantra we hear today.
Yeah.
We are not, even as adults, we're desperate to be seen and heard, to be validated. And yet nobody validates us. Nobody listens to us. I call it listening another person into existence. If you can listen a child into existence, you are giving a gift, an incalculably precious gift to that child, and it costs you nothing to do it. I mean, it costs you literally nothing to do it.
Right.
10 seconds of your time.
Well, that's kind of what we talk about here on Reading with Your Kids, is that time you're spending reading with your kids and
critically important.
Asking your kid, what do you think? I
love that. I love that.
Yeah. It's like,
I love that.
You're saying, it's the most important person in the kid's life is saying, I'm interested in what you have to say. Right. I'm interested in what you think.
And I love the idea that you're encouraging parents to read to their children. That's the fastest way to literacy, is to have stories read to you as a kid. Because you invoke your imagination as a child, you're listening, the words are there, the words are flowing, and as you become more literate, learn how to read, your brain is now attuned in to these words and these ideas and these concepts. Brilliant. Yeah. I wish every parent took the time to read to their children every day.
Well, hopefully that's what we're doing here, encouraging that.
Good job.
I'm going to ask something that you might it might sound like I'm being a wise ass, and I don't mean that. I'm very sincere.
Don't worry about it.
Here in New England, there was an incident down in Rhode Island, Narragansett, Rhode Island, and it also happened in New Hampshire on a beach. Just a riot broke out. Just kids, young, teens and 20-year-olds are on the beach, and this big brawl broke out in two different beaches. We're hearing about mall takeovers. We're hearing about street takeovers. Is there a way that we can implement the Deescalate?
Sure.
I don't know. And okay, great. So I'll stop talking. You tell us.
First of all, what you're seeing when you see these large things happen, what we're seeing, the effect, the cause of it is what's called emotional contagion. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen a nature documentary where you see 1,000 antelope out in the African savannah, and one antelope head goes up, another one goes up, another one goes up, and then boom, they're all running. How is it that all the antelope knew to run in the same direction at exactly the same moment? And they knew because we transmit information rapidly. Emotional information is transmitted very rapidly between mammals, and humans are no different. So you could have people on a beach being very quiet, and 30 seconds later it could be a mass riot because something triggered, was sent through the crowd, fear usually, fear, and people just became highly reactive. They stopped thinking and they started reacting. So that's what's going on. Now the way you stop that is you've got to spend the time figuring out what is the emotional climate out there, like on a street or on a beach or somewhere. There's going to be somebody out there who's angry and upset, who's feeling defended, who's feeling a threat status, fear maybe, could be all kinds of things. And the trick is to train all these kids when they're younger how to listen.
Yeah, right.
But assuming that's not going to happen, then the trick is paying attention to where the flashpoints might be just by listening, and finding out who are the kids, usually boys, who are angry and upset. They don't feel heard. They don't feel validated. They feel less than. Maybe they feel like they got to engage in violence to show how tough they are, or they want to impress a girl. I mean, the motivations, there aren't a lot of motivations, and they're all pretty common, but find those people, take them aside and listen to them.
Okay.
Just listen to them. And label and name their emotions and calm them down. That's the way we stop this stuff. But that requires adult presence,
right? Who
have the skill sets to be able to manage this. And most people don't.
Right.
Law enforcement's never trained in this stuff. Most adults have. I'm the only one out there that's teaching this stuff as far as I know. So there just aren't a lot of people that have these skill sets. But that's how I would approach it.
Yeah.
If when you see large gathering of teens, then you need to have, somebody's got to be out there, not power over like law enforcement, but walking and listening for the anger or the upset or the frustration, and then go de-escalate it.
Right. And if you're there with your kids, get the hell out.
Get out.
I
mean, if you're on a beach with a whole bunch of teenagers and you're there with your younger children, that's not a good place for you to be right now. Right. It's too mercurial. It's probably going to be fine. Because these incidents they're not commonplace. They're pretty rare. Still, who wants to be in the middle of a riot on a beach with young children?
Yeah. This is fascinating stuff. And people might be listening going, it's hard to believe, but I think, taking a look at your book, if I'm reading a book that said I can calm an angry person down in 90 seconds, I think that's worth my time to sit down.
It's worth your time. And this has been field tested. I mean, and acid tested. I taught murderers these skills for 10 years in maximum security prisons, training them how to be mediators and peacemakers to stop prison violence. Over 800 lifers went through our program here in California, released on parole. Not one of them has reoffended. Not one.
Fantastic.
This stuff works. It's counterintuitive. It's counternormative. It seems like it's too simple. It is powerful. And for every parent that's listening, the best thing you can do is learn how to listen to your kids into existence. Name what they're feeling. And just because you're naming what they're feeling doesn't mean that you're agreeing with what's causing the behavior underneath. You're not agreeing with the behavior. Mm-hmm. You're simply naming what they're feeling right now to calm them down so that, for example, if you have to address misbehavior, you can do that with a calm child, not with an upset child. Upset children are not going to learn anything. Their prefrontal cortex is shut down. You can punish an upset child all you want, and all they know is they're being punished because they feel. Well, that's the connection they make. That's not what you want.
Right.
You want to add consequence and discipline to a calm prefrontal cortex, not a dysregulated prefrontal cortex. So we've always got to be thinking about nervous systems. What's going on with this child in their nervous system?
Well, we should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about Deescalate, how to calm an angry person in 90 seconds or less. Find out more about you and be ready to
change their lives.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So the book is available everywhere. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. I mean, it's everywhere. It's in 5 languages. So if English isn't your first language, you can probably get it in Chinese, Spanish, German, French. Well, it'll be French soon. I just heard a French publisher pick it up. There's one other language I'm forgetting. Anyways, so, but Amazon, typical. You can get the book that way. You can find out more about my work at my website, Doug Noll, DOUGNOLL.com. And there are tons of different ways to reach out to me. My email address is doug@dougnoll.com. I'm a sole practitioner. I live here in California, up in the Sierra Nevada, and so I answer my own phones, do my own emails, all that stuff. So if anybody has any questions or want to reach out to me, I'm more than happy to chat, set up a Zoom call, and chat about my work. And my mission in life, where I am today, is to teach as many millions of people about these skills as I possibly can. Imagine what our culture would be like if even 10% of us were able to truly listen each other into existence.
Yeah.
What would change? It'd be huge.
Love it. Love it. We've had a really powerful time speaking to the author of Deescalate. Our guest has been Doug Noll. Hey, Doug, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Jed. It's really been a lot of fun.
This episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Fart Boy and Reeky Dog, Dino Doom. Fantastic new graphic novel written by New York Times bestselling author Joan Holub, who's written over 200 amazing books for kids. It's school sleepover at the museum. What could go wrong? Well, how about this? A snack-fueled explosion of garbanzo beans and peanuts unleashes a stink so powerful it brings the dinosaurs back to life. Now, Fart Boy, Reeky Dog, and their friends are in the middle of a dino-sized disaster. They have to solve tricky riddles, find missing bones, and stop the stinkiest villain of all, Professor Gravy Pants. Because if they don't, the dinosaurs could take over. Or worse, they could become Dino Dinner. This action-packed graphic novel is bursting with friendships, adventure, and enough laughs to shake the museum walls. If your kids love superheroes, if they love dinosaurs, and if they love to laugh until they can't breathe, then Fart Boy and Reeky Dog Dino Doom is the book for you. Because sometimes the power to save the world comes from the unlikeliest place. Grab your copy today and get ready for a reading adventure that's truly dynamite. My friends, we are about to have a great time. Our guest is here today to celebrate her new picture book. It's called Fun Day with Misa. Please welcome to the show, Maria Saldua. Hey, Maria, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm so excited.
I'm really excited to have you here. Tell us all about me. First off, who is Misa?
Misa is my grandpuppy. I don't have grandchildren, so I have a grandpuppy. And she's a miniature Australian Shepherd dog. And she is the cutest little thing. And I fell in love with her the minute I saw her when she was brought in by my son and daughter-in-law. And then I babysat, or I should say puppy sat her, and the story came to life with the one sitting, of the puppy sitting with her. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Well, I relate to you. We also don't have grandkids. We do have grand dogs. and one of our grand dogs is a border collie corgi mix. So it looks just like a border collie that had its legs cut in half.
Must be a beautiful, cute dog.
It's a really cute dog, and she has the energy of a border collie, so she's jumping around. But because she has such short corgi legs, it's quite comical watching her bounce around.
I'm sure she'll do well with Misa if they ever hung out together.
I think so. Yeah, Australian Shepherds are very much like border collies. They're working dogs, and man, they have so much energy.
They do, and especially in the story, I have myself I'm Granny in the story, throwing her blue bone, and we do have a blue bone, and she loves going after that blue bone, and she will definitely herd me. She'll be up against my feet to make sure that I'm throwing the ball, or not the ball, but the bone to her. And it's just amazing how she's got this little mind about this blue bone. That's all she wants to do is play fetch.
Yeah. When our border collie, when we got it, it was our daughter's a birthday present when she turned 4. We used to go for a walk every day, and she knew all the dogs in the neighborhood, and she desperately wanted her own dog. So it was, and we went in, and this border collie picked us. We didn't pick it; it picked us, and brought it home. And anytime my kids are out in the yard with their friends, the collie would herd them. Like you said, would just go dancing around, circling around them, and the kids would all, get herded like they were sheep. It was great.
Yes, definitely would have a great time with your dog.
Yeah. So tell me, it's one thing to be grandmother to a grand dog, and to babysit and take care of the dog, or puppy sit, as you said. It's another thing to go and say, I'm going to write a kid's book. Where did that inspiration come from?
You know what? Funny you should mention that, or ask that question. It's because I had her that one full day with me, and I have to tell you, that was a day of work, which wasn't really work, because she kept bothering me to help or to play with her. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take this time to write a little story about her. And so the story became this book, but I had rewritten it so many times. It was actually a book in 3 years making, so to speak. And I then found a wonderful editor by the name of Natalia Sepulveda, who's a Puerto Rican from Florida. And she's my editor. So I wrote it in English and in Spanish. So this is a bilingual book. So for me, it was important to write it because my first 6 years of my life were only Spanish speaking, because that's all I knew. So to share the language and my culture, the Spanish speaking, and also just to introduce that to other people who are probably trying to learn both languages, I just thought this would be a perfect opportunity to share not only the love of my puppy, but also the love of my language, Spanish.
Yeah, that is really great. And it's interesting. Did you always think of yourself as an author, or somebody that you just knew someday I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write a kid's book?
I had a friend of mine back when I was 20 years old, and I won't tell you how old I am, but that was many years ago. She said, Maria, you should write a book, because I guess I must know how to tell stories or write them out and share them with others. But I thought, well, why not a kid's book? Because I put myself in the mindset of a child. And so that's how you will see Misa in the mindset of her being like a little girl, so to speak, because she's a little girl in terms of a puppy. And she goes to Granny thinking that she might not have a fun day, but finds out that she's going to have a great day with Granny, because she explores different things, different situations, and really appreciates the time that she has with Granny. And I think we need to also look at that from a child's perspective, because, children want to explore. Children are curious. And I see that with Misa. She's very curious. She wants to play with little boys on bicycles that came up to her in the trails as she was walking with Granny. And she just played. And then she was so sad when they had to leave. So I think that's something that a child can relate to, because a child would want to play. But once the, playing stops, they're like, I don't want to stop playing. I want to keep going. So, for me, it was just easy to put that into words. And I'm happy to say that I'm now starting a series of Come Along with Misa. And the second book is going to be about Misa visiting the zoo. So because the first book ends with her dreaming about elephants. So the second story is going to be leading about elephants as well. So I don't want to give away too much because I want people to buy the book.
No spoilers here. Well, that's really fantastic. That was going to be my next question, because as you were speaking about Misa and the relationship with the grandmother, that it just seemed like a natural to turn it into a series.
It sure is. And again, with the storylines that I have, each one ends where the next one will begin, but then also you can also pick up the book in any order whatsoever. So for me, I'm making it flexible for both the parent, the grandparent, because again, I also felt that we needed to see more grandparents related to or reading to their grandchildren, so to speak. And I felt that this was a wonderful way of doing that. And again, Misa being such a wonderful puppy, so to speak, that all she wants to do is share joy and love. And that's, I think I can capture that in each book as you go through the books.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I was at an educational conference, and they had asked me to put together a little bookstore for the different educators. So we had all these fancy schmancy educational books. And then we celebrated some of our kids' authors also on the table. And the kids' books got way more attention than the professional books. And everybody who was going over and checking out the books said, I'm looking for a book for my grandchild. And I think that is an excellent reminder to grandparents that spending time reading with your grandkids is such a winning combination. It's a great way to build that bond, especially if you're not able to visit every day, if you're not actively taking part in the everyday life of the grandkids. It's, hey, let's come over, spend this special time reading together. I'm just going to give you all of my attention.
And then for me, especially in the Hispanic community, I'm not saying anything against the other communities, but there is such a strong bond between the grandchild and the grandparent that I think that the grandparent would love to have that book in their hands. Fun day with Misa, un día divertido con Misa, from a Spanish-speaking, way of saying the title. But for me, it just, again, it demonstrates that need for that closeness, or to bond more with your grandparent, or even with a parent, or even with an aunt or an uncle. I think it's that type of book, or any book for that matter, because you're reading with that child, and that child is learning. Believe it or not, they are learning.
Yeah. Tell me, how is the book formatted? Is it is there Spanish and English on each page?
Yes, so it would start out with the English portion, and then right below is the Spanish translation on each page. And what's so unique about my book, I also made it because Misa is Japanese for flower blossom or flower bloom. And so each page will have her name in Japanese characters. So the child will need to find her name in the Japanese characters, as well as her blue bone. Her blue bone is on the pages throughout the book. So one of the things I ask at the very beginning is, how many are you able to see or find Misa's blue bone, and how many times are there out there in the book, so to speak? So the child goes crazy finding the blue bone or seeing her name in Japanese characters. And I'm going to try to do the similar way of that in the second book, but we're going to use something differently than the blue bone. But we're going to use her, or keep her name, the Japanese characters, within the pages of the second book.
Okay, so I gotta ask, it makes total sense. You grew up speaking Spanish, so I understand sharing that language. Where does the Japanese characters come in? What was that inspiration?
Well, my son and daughter-in-law went to Japan for their honeymoon, and they fell in love with the country, and so they love the name Misa. And again, that's where they must have found it from there. But again, it's a tribute to them, but also a tribute to the love of the country, Japan, because they were there for like 10 days, and they just absolutely fell in love with it.
someone who didn't necessarily think, you're a good storyteller, but you didn't necessarily think, well, I'm going to be a kid's author. But what did it feel like when you first got that author's copy in your hand and you could hold it and the book was real?
You know what? I was, I guess, in shock because I didn't realize I could pull this off, but I did. But Jed, I have to share with you that my husband made a comment to me, and it really hurt, I shouldn't say hurt my heart, but it really touched my heart. And what he said was, Maria, you're going to be impacting many kids with this book. And when he said that, the word impact just hit me like, oh my gosh, this is huge. This is bigger than me. And I never would have imagined something like that. And so I'm very proud of it. And in fact, I've entered a few contests to see how well she will do, the book will do. One of them was the Latino International Book Awards. They're going to announce the winners sometime in July, August timeframe. And then there are other awards that I'm going for. But also I have a wonderful narrator, Letty Marie, who narrated the book both in English and in Spanish. And she also included a lot of background, wonderful, song or type of, you don't want to say bad noise, but like kids running around in the background, things like that. And it just works really well for somebody that wants to learn the language. They can now hear somebody, read it to them as well. So I'm very happy about that, as well as she also did a song, Misa, Misa, Life is Beautiful. So it's out there for people to download if they want to go check it out. It's just a wonderful song that kids can play to. And I have to tell you, parents will not get tired of listening to it because it's got such a wonderful beat, a wonderful melody, everything. And it's just well written and sung beautifully by Letty Marie as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Boy, that's really exciting. And your husband is right, because there are going to be families that are going to be curled up on the couch together, reading your book, reading about Misa, and, pointing at all the pictures and finding the blue bone, finding the name in Japanese. And, you did a good thing.
I try my best, and I hope the second one will also be as good. And then I already have written 3.5 books already. It's going to be hopefully a series of between 8 to 9 books. Wow. And she'll be doing a lot of great stuff, and it's going to be showing her character in terms of how she treats others. And what we're thinking is, how she treats others is how people should be treating each other with kindness. And also, there's going to be some diversity in my book, meaning some of the animals might have some handicaps. So we're going to include them so that way they're not excluded, they're included. So I'm looking forward to sharing that story as well. That might be story number 3 or 4. I'm trying to keep them in order here. But Misa has got a mission, and she's got a message to be sharing with a lot of people out there.
Wow. So this career as a children's author is really, you really did get bitten by the author bug.
Yes, I have, and I'm really excited about this. And then I also have a side project I'm doing. I grew up in the historic Pullman district. It's a neighborhood in Chicago, south side of Chicago. And the neighborhood was built by George M. Pullman, the railroad, guy that created the sleeping car. And I'm writing a novel based upon the 1880s. So that's something on the side as well. So it really has bitten me because I love history. And so I'm going to be intertwining Chicago history, Pullman history in my novel. And we'll see how that one goes. But right now my attention is with Misa and all the, the books with it. Come Along with Misa is the brand. And I also have a plushie that I have about her. And I'm also going to create other plushies because we're going to introduce her cat cousins in the second book, because I went to Chicago to debut her last fall, and someone came up to me at the Hispanic business conference, and they said, "You don't have any cats." I go, "Well, wait till next year. I'll have a cat." So actually, I'll have 2 cats.
Okay. You mentioned going to Chicago to debut the book. Have you considered possibly doing some read aloud or some school visits in Mexico or Puerto Rico or El Salvador?
You know what? I haven't gotten there yet. I know I've done some readings in Chicago. I'm doing some readings here in the Kansas area. But you know what? Trying to see if I can get a hold of some people, because I do have some connections in the different Latin America countries, Mexico, as you mentioned, Argentina. I know there was a podcaster or an influencer out of Puerto Rico. She's got my book and she's shared it with others there. So, it would be great to go visit those other Latin America countries, and Spain, of course. I've been to Spain, Barcelona, but, if I could go back there again and share my book, I would love to do that.
Yeah. Well, let's share with everybody where they can go to find out more about Fun Day with Misa, find out more about you and all the great things coming from your imagination.
All right. I have a website called comealongwithmisa.co, C-O, and I not only have a website, which I have free activity sheets for children to download and, play with, as well as I also provide a birthday card. If a parent would like to go online and sign up, I will send by mail a birthday card from Misa. Actually, Misa will be sending it. And so I have them both in English and in Spanish, these birthday cards. Wonderful. So the parent will just need to decide what they want to do with that. And then I also have my Instagram and Facebook account with the same Come Along with Misa. And they can find everything. And we try to post like maybe 2 or 3 times a week about Misa activities, what Misa's done, what Misa shares with or says to everybody. Because like one day we had like the beginning of the nice summer weather, and then we had like a snow day, and Misa's running around, yay, having a snow day, things like that. So we like to share those with others. And then my book can be purchased at most of your major retailers, online, such as the Amazons, Barnes and Nobles, Book a Millions. And then you can also possibly, I believe you can go to your local bookstore and ask for it there, because I know that there's some of them here, not only in the Chicagoland area, but Kansas area. And I think also in the Los Angeles area, you could get it at a bookstore, if I'm not mistaken.
Wonderful. We've had a great time speaking to the author of Fun Day with Misa. It's book 1 of a series that is coming from our guest, Mariah Saldua. Mariah, thanks so much. Mariah Saldua. Thank you so much for being on Reading with Your Kids.
Deadly. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Hey, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids, and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. If this episode made you smile or gave you something to think about, and boy, oh boy, I don't know how you can't have something to think about after listening to Doug and Maria, please consider sharing a link to the show with someone you love. Leave a 5-star review, and of course, subscribe to the show wherever you find your favorite shows. We'd also love for you to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram, at Jedley Magic on X, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids, and our website, readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our guest, Doug Noll. Please be sure to check out Deescalate, how to calm an angry person in only 90 seconds or less. I also want to thank Mariah Saldua. Please be sure to check out Fun Day with Misa. I want to thank my team, Chris Doherty, Daylene Rose, Advina Lopez, Ella Badier. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support and love she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place. And you do that every single time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.
I am the boss of my body. Real magic. Hey, hey. When I say who's the boss, you say I am. Who's the boss? I am. Who's the boss? I am. I am the boss of my body. I am the boss of my body. I make smart choices every day. Read, move, be kind, my way. I am the boss of my body. I am the boss of my body. Strong mind, strong heart, you'll see. I'm the best me I can be. I wake up strong, got dreams in my head. Fuel up my body, yeah, I'm well fed. Fruits and veggies, drink that water. Taking care of me, I'm getting stronger. If someone says try this, it's cool. I think for myself, I'm nobody's fool. I choose what's right, I lead the way. I'm making good choices every day. Who makes your choices? I do. Who decides what's right? I do. Who's got the power inside? Say it loud with pride. I am the boss of my body. I am the boss of my body. I make smart choices every day. Read, move, be kind. My way. Open a book, take a picture, walk. Use funny voices when the characters talk. Laugh out loud, let your mind go free. Every page is a place to be. Heroes rise when I read each night. Grow in my brain, shine in my light. Stories help me dream and grow. That's real magic, now you know. Jump up high, jump, jump. Touch the sky, reach, reach. Run in place, move your feet. Take a breath, in and out. Strong and calm, that's what I'm about. Kind words matter, what I say. I can lift someone up today. If I mess up, that's okay. Learn and grow, that's the way. I can say not yet, I'll try again. Be a helper, be a friend. Respect myself and everyone. That's how real magic gets done. I am strong, I am smart. I've got power in my heart. I choose what's right.